Brad storms into Portia's office with his new leverage, which is that he got K for her and pulled all sorts of medical files on Drew so she could figure out the perfect dose for him. He knows Portia was behind Drew's party the night before. Portia says she didn't drug Drew, but Brad did. Portia says nobody would believe an ex-con over her, and she knew he'd use this to blackmail her again. She orders him out of her office and to leave her alone, or she'll make sure he goes down for drugging Drew. Brad storms out. Brad fumes about Portia and then spots Lucas with Marco in his office and sees how cozy they are as they share some chips. Brad goes to Drew and tells him he has something that might interest him. Drew insists that Brad has nothing he wants. Brad tells him, "Not even who facilitated your body shot party?" Drew's suddenly interested. Brad, however, wants Drew to make it worth his while. Maurice Bernard on General Hospital recently talked about his youngest daughter, Cassidy, and her fiancé, Anthony Camerata, on social media. The ABC star said that he sees the duo as soulmates. Read on for more information. On May 3, Maurice took to his Instagram and shared a reel that showed Anthony proposing to his daughter, Cassidy. It went down in Japan at Disneyland in Tokyo. The reel was very sweet, and Finola Hughes said in the comments that it made her cry. In his caption, Maurice Bernard told his ABC fans, "Many people in the comments section thought that the engagement just happened this week. However, it actually happened last month. Nearly 2 weeks ago, the real-life Sonny Corinthos shared on social media about how the engagement went down. At the time, per Soaps in Depth, he said, 'My baby girl, Cassidy, is getting married to a great man.' They went to Japan, and he surprised her in Disneyland. It truly is a fairy tale." At the beach party, Emma finds that her thumb drive with her work is missing. Joss holds it in her hands. They start searching around, and Gio asks if she has a backup. Emma doesn't have one and freaks out. Joss pretends to find it in the sand, and Emma embraces her and says, "You saved my life." Elsewhere, Danny finally finds Rocco alone and passed out. He tries to wake him up, but Rocco doesn't respond. Rocco finally comes to, explains he was playing a drinking game, and then passed out again. Danny rushes to get Gio to help with Rocco. Rocco is still in and out of it. Danny says they have to get him home without anyone finding out. Emma calls out to Gio, so he rushes to her, but promises Danny not to tell Emma what is going on as she's Anna's granddaughter. Gio makes an excuse to Emma for why he has to go. Soon, Gio returns to Danny, and they drag Rocco to the boathouse. Those who missed the initial engagement were so happy for Maurice Bernard, as he described how he loved that his daughter found her soulmate. Apart from an emotional Finola, fans and friends also commented on the sweet reel by the GH star. One of them said, "Maurice, you make my day. When I feel down, you bring me up. Thank you. God bless you and your beautiful family, and may He keep you and your family healthy and safe." Here are a few more reactions filled with red heart emojis. Cassidy is the youngest in the Bernard family, which includes her parents, Maurice and Paula, and her siblings Kaylee, Heather, and Joshua. While the specifics of her upcoming wedding remain private for now, it's likely that Maurice Bernard, known for his deep affection for his children and grandchildren, will eventually share details about the special occasion when it occurs. Back at the party, Vaughn checks in with Joss. She says she got the drive back to Emma and told Emma and Gio that she's seen him on campus a lot, which is how they know each other. She asks if he has any more questions. Vaughn asks, "Are you homesick yet?" She notes she is home, but he points out she's just pretending this is her life now. Joss understands and admits she misses parts of her old life, but those parts were gone whether she joined the WSB or not. Vaughn decides to head out and jokes he'll see her around campus. Later, Emma and Joss hang out and talk about college. Emma again thanks her for finding her drive. Without it, she could have kissed the research position goodbye. Emma also thinks about how much fun they had back in the day with Cam and Spencer and how she misses them. She says Spencer was something else. He could be your best friend and stab you in the back, but it didn't make him a bad person. Did you know that the couple had gotten engaged in April in Japan? Do you agree that it seems wonderful that Cassidy's dad thinks she found her real soulmate? Shout out in the comment section below, and come back here often for all your General Hospital cast news and updates. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, May 6, reveal that Drew Kane will strike a deal for intel while Willow Corinthos accuses her top suspect. Dante Falconeri will also blame Giovanni Gio Palmieri. So let's talk about what's ahead in Port Charles. First, Ava Jerome will remind Rick Lansing that they're supposed to be a team and hope he'll stick to the plan when it comes to their very lucrative blackmail plot. As for Alexis Davis, she'll give Diane Miller updates on the mess that's been playing out ever since Molly Lansing Davis found the papers to have Christina Corinthos Davis committed. Joss tells Emma she doesn't want her to freak out if she doesn't get that research position. Gio and Danny get Rocco to the boathouse. Danny says he'll camp out with him, but Gio insists he stick around as he has experience with this. Danny goes up to the main house to make coffee and get aspirin. Alone, Gio realizes Rocco's phone is missing. He tells him to stay put, as he'll go look for it at the beach in case anyone tries to call him. That's when Cody appears. Cody noticed the lights were on and asks what happened. Gio explains all he knows about Rocco. Cody checks on Rocco. When he notices his breathing is off, he says they need to get him to the hospital now. Gio and Cody bring Rocco to the hospital, and a doctor takes over getting Rocco treatment for suspected alcohol poisoning. Back at the Quartermains, Danny finds Lois and rants to her about this thing between Brooklyn and Lulu, and how Lulu doesn't seem to want to let it go. Molly ran straight to Christina with that news, so now they're both furious with Alexis. Diane will feel terrible since she didn't shred the papers like Alexis told her to. Not to mention her bag mishap at the hospital resulted in Molly's shocking discovery. However, Alexis will argue that these are her daughters, so it's on her to fix this. It doesn't sound like Alexis will really blame Diane for what happened, so she'll just focus on trying to repair all the latest family damage. Meanwhile, Christina will confide in Lucky Spencer about Alexis wanting to have her committed. Despite Christina's outrage, Lucky will point out that Alexis isn't completely wrong about her recent mental state. Christina will ask if Lucky's saying that he thinks she's crazy, so Lucky will no doubt shut down that idea. Lois says sometimes strong women don't get along, and he should probably stay out of it if he doesn't want to drive himself crazy. Dante then receives a call from Cody, who tells him about Rocco. Lois offers to go with Dante to the hospital, and Dante says he'll call Lulu on the way. Lois and Lulu arrive at the hospital, and Cody and Gio fill them in on what they know. General Hospital spoilers indicate that Tracy Quartermain knows that Brooklyn Quartermain gave a son up for adoption while she was in high school, and that Lulu Spencer is holding this information over her head. Tracy wants answers, and has asked Lois Cerullo where her great-grandson is. Tracy is not having it with Lois, and would not get the answers she wants, but she will want to find answers, and Lulu may be able to assist. Even so, Christina went off the rails when she decided to tamper with the brakes on Elva's car and sabotage Rick's car by mistake. Lucky will push Christina to see that Alexis was coming from a place of concern, so she'll gain a new perspective after this conversation. At GH, Brad Cooper will insist that for the right price, he'll tell Drew everything. Since Drew's about to get some critical info, it sounds like Brad will indeed strike a deal and rat Portia Robinson out. Drew's been having some fuzzy flashbacks of Portia and Tracy Quartermain, so he may suspect the two of them teamed up against him, especially after he scores Brad's intel. Next, Willow will continue her conversation with Mena Reeves, who'll hide her own guilt as Willow points the finger at a different suspect. Tracy is a possibility, but it makes sense that Willow might accuse Carly now that she's just had that huge confrontation with her. Tracy would confront Lulu about her role in all of this, and how she has been holding this information over Brooke Lynn's head. Lulu would quickly realize that Brooke Lynn neglected to mention that Dante Falconeri is the father of the baby that Brooke Lynn gave up for adoption. Tracy would find this tidbit interesting, and Lulu would tell her about her adoption article and what she knows about the adoption. Tracy and Lulu would discuss, and Lulu would tell Tracy about what she uncovered from Martin Gray's files. Lulu would remember her discussion with Gio Palmieri at Dante's birthday party and realize that he would be about the same age as Brooke Lynn's baby is. A light bulb would go off in Tracy's head, and she would realize that Lois did not give the baby up for adoption. She gave the baby to Gio's mother to raise as her own, as she is part of Lois' extended Bensonhurst family. Speaking of Carly, she'll hear Danny Morgan's confession about pressuring Rocco Falconeri to attend the bonfire and leaving him on his own. Rocco got alcohol poisoning from all the shots, so Carly will think Danny should feel terrible and take responsibility for his role in what went down. Back at the hospital, Dante will make an angry prediction that if something happens to Rocco, then it's on Gio. Although Gio thought Rocco could just sleep off the booze at the boathouse, Cody Bell came along and realized Rocco's breathing was shallow. That's why they all ended up at GH for Rocco's stomach pumping. But Dante may argue that Gio should have called 911 and got Rocco medical assistance immediately. Dante might even threaten to make legal trouble for Gio, since he was at a party with underage drinking, but Lois Cerullo will beg him to back off, especially since Gio has a music scholarship to worry about. They both would be shocked to realize that Gio is Brooke Lynn and Dante's son, and Tracy would be happy that Gio is a Quartermain, as she has grown quite fond of him, but livid that Lois kept the secret from everyone. She would instruct Lulu to keep quiet about this until she figures out how to handle this situation. Tracy would race back to the mansion and confront Lois with the truth about Gio's true parentage. She has put it all together and knows the truth. Although Lois would try to deny, Tracy would know that she is lying and urge her to admit it with all the information and coincidences that Tracy has seen. Lois would be forced to admit the truth, and Tracy would tell her that she has to tell Brooke Lynn and everyone else the truth now, even though it is already too late. Everyone needs to hear it from her if she ever wants anyone in the family to forgive her. Once Rocco awakens, he'll apologize for going behind Dante and Lulu Spencer's back to attend the beach bash. Rocco may insist Gio just got dragged into all this by mistake and urge Dante not to blame him for trying to help. General Hospital spoilers say Gio will have a lot to get off his chest when he meets up with Emma again soon, so stay tuned. General Hospital spoilers suggest the week of May 5 to 9 will be filled with some heavy moments, so it's time to take a deeper dive into what fans should expect over the next 5 days. Fans saw Rocco Falconeri collapse during the Friday, May 2 episode after drinking some spiked punch at a College Beach bonfire party. He was initially hesitant to go to the shindig, but Danny Morgan convinced him and pressured him into having some alcohol to fit in and not raise any red flags with anyone. General Hospital spoilers tease that some Christina Corinthos Davis has been on an unprecedented run of mischief lately. At the same time, the show keeps bringing up Helena Cassadine's deadly dagger, the one used to kill Christina's maternal grandmother. Clearly, the hatchet is cursed, and there's a connection between the plots thanks to Cassadine coincidences. The situation has some fans speculating that Chrissy will use the weapon to go after Ava Jerome. A while back, Jen Sidwell asked Alexis Davis out to Windermere. When she got there, he surprised her with the dagger and urged her to take it home. She left the island without the dagger, and it looked as if Sidwell set her up to get her fingerprints on the dagger. The plot took a different tack this week when the dagger arrived at Alexa's office. Sidwell protests that it isn't right for him to keep the weapon, but we suspect he has a secret agenda in play. The ABC soap just dropped its weekly preview this, and from the sounds of it, Rocco will be found unresponsive and rushed to the hospital. Could Rocco have alcohol poisoning? It's hard to say. He clearly consumed more alcohol than his system is used to, so there could be a chance that the punch hit his body hard. Alcohol poisoning can be fatal. It can also cause patients to go into a coma. This is the land of soaps, where anything is possible. Could Rocco require a transplant or blood infusion that can only come from a family member to recover? Rocco has plenty of family members in Port Charles, and the good news is his sister Charlotte Cassadine is currently in the little town. But what if everyone that gets tested to save Rocco is not a match? This could turn out to be a nightmare for Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri, who will be desperate to do anything to save their son. How soapy would it be if the dagger that killed Alexis' mother is used by Alexis' daughter to kill Ava? Ava Jerome is blackmailing Alexis over Chrissy trying to kill her. There is no love lost between Ava and Christina, with Christina trying to kill Ava via a car crash. Instead of maiming Ava, Christina managed to injure Rick Lansing and Elizabeth Baldwin. Christina may say she wants to walk away from her Ava vendetta, but we predict she will try again to harm her foe. If Christina learns about Ava's blackmail plot, do you think she could stay stable and sane? We're talking about Christina, the girl who never learns. Far less has sent Christina off the ledge, and if she finds out that Ava is putting the screws to Alexis, Christina will use that as justification to break the law. Isn't convenient that the Cassadine death dagger has re-entered the picture after all this time, and that it's in Alexis' possession? Lulu knows that Dante has a son out there with Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase that he's not aware of and has been wanting to spill the beans on this for a long time. Rocco's medical emergency could very well be the thing that breaks Lulu into telling Dante the truth. With that said, a few weeks back, fans got the feeling as if Lulu connected the dots between Giovanni "Gio" Palmieri and Lois Cerullo's bond. Gio has a unique family-like relationship with all his Bensonhurst community members in PC, but he and Lois are especially close. Still, Lulu hasn't crossed a line or even pushed for information with Lois, but that may be because she's been more preoccupied with other things. Could Rocco's medical emergency and no available family donors have Lulu switching gears? Fans may recall that Lulu's mom, Laura Collins, was in a similar situation years ago when her daughter was a baby. Tell us, GH fans, do you think it's possible for Christina to kill Ava with the deadly dagger? General Hospital spoilers and updates for the week of Monday, May 5 Friday, May 9 tease frustrated daughters, ugly confrontations, and dangerous situations. Christina Corinthos Davis is frustrated, Lois Cerullo is met with an ugly confrontation, and Rocco Falconeri's in a dangerous situation. A shot of Alexis Davis in her law office is shown, as elsewhere, Christina and Lucky Spencer are talking. Christina's upset as she sits in a cafe booth with Lucky and tells him, "My mother is trying to have me committed." The look on her face plainly shows she's not happy with Lucky's answer. In fact, she looks a little shocked. Lucky tells her that maybe Alexis wasn't completely wrong, but Lucky used to be a cop, so he's picked up on the reasoning. She had a secret son in Nicholas Cassadine, who she eventually revealed in hopes that he could save Lulu's life. Lucky Spencer was not a bone marrow match at the time, so Laura was desperate. In fact, what's even more interesting was that this story was recently retold by Laura when she and Lulu talked about the dilemma her daughter had in knowing that Dante has another son that he's not aware of. Ultimately, Laura encouraged Lulu to stay out of it, but will Lulu's need to save her son's life be the very reason she ends up exposing Brooke Lynn and Gio's true parentage? General Hospital spoilers imply that it feels as if the Gio secret is set to explode at any moment. And as fans are in the thick of sweeps month, everyone can't help as if the bombshell will be dropped in the days or weeks ahead. An insanity defense would work if further investigation, or Ava Jerome, clued the PCPD in on what really happened that night Rick Lansing and Elizabeth Baldwin wrecked. Drew Cain appears to be in the hospital as he is asking hospital personnel some very direct questions. It appears he may be talking to Brad Cooper, who'll make a life-changing decision this week. Drew asks the man, shown from the back in what could be a white lab coat, if he knows who drugged him last night. It would be a life-changing decision indeed if Brad admitted that Portia Robinson put him up to obtaining the ketamine that hooker Jacinda dosed him with. It would be a life-changer for both Brad and Portia, for that matter. Elsewhere, there's a major mother and daughter squabble going on as Nina Reeves' plan has gone majorly awry. Willow Corinthos slings accusations. General Hospital spoilers indicate that Drew Cain may be down, but he is not out yet. It seems Willow Corinthos is close to forgiving him. Next to mention, she just overheard her mother, Nina Reeves, and Carly Spencer talking about how Nina took Drew down. It is only a matter of time before Willow confronts Nina and then tells Drew the shocking truth. However, Drew seems to suspect Tracy Quartermaine. After overhearing Nina and Carly talking about how Nina was responsible for what happened to Drew, Nina would be beside herself and beg Willow to let her explain. Willow wouldn't hear of it and tell Nina that she will never trust her again. She cannot believe that Nina stooped this low and went after Drew that way just to break them up. Willow tells her that their relationship is over, and she should have known that Drew was telling the truth, and that he was not at fault. Willow would storm out, and Nina would be devastated. The atmosphere is beyond tense as Willow gets in her mother's face and shouts, "You and I both know who did it." Of course, Willow is referring to Drew having been drugged at the Savoy with the ketamine, and the very public scene that ensued. The scene was so bad and went so viral that Drew may never be able to overcome the scandal. Looking back through history, however, it could have been worse. At least he didn't drive Jacinda to her death off a bridge, did someone say. Chappaquiddick? In the meantime, at the Quartermaine mansion, there are an ex-mother and daughter-in-law in an ugly confrontation. Lois is confronted by Tracy Quartermaine as Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase looks nearly in tears. Brooke Lynn had told Tracy everything about her teenage pregnancy and her son, except, of course, his identity, since she doesn't know that yet. Drew would be livid thinking that Tracy is responsible for drugging him, and Willow would come home and tell him that it wasn't Tracy, it was Nina. She overheard her and Carly talking about it. Drew would get even more angry and tell Willow that he is going to confront Nina and make her sorry that she messed with him. Willow would tell him to leave it alone. Having her out of Nina's life is punishment for her. Drew would say that he needs to have his say and confront Nina. Drew takes off to confront Nina. Drew would quickly arrive at Nina's apartment and come at her. He would lay into her about what she has done and how it completely backfired on her. Nina would tell him that it was worth it because she will do whatever it takes to keep Willow away from him. Drew would tell her that she will never break up him and Willow, and that she is done interfering in their lives. It sounds as if Tracy could suspect it as she lashes out at a frightened-looking Lois, shouting, "Brooke Lynn doesn't know where her son is, you do." Has Tracy figured it all out that Gio Palmieri is really Gio Quartermaine, actually Gio Falconeri? Roccos in a dangerous situation as Danny Morgan tries to rouse him. It may be Cody Bell who's happened upon the scene, although what he would be doing at the college kids' beach party is a mystery. Danny keeps shaking Rocco and calling his name as a male voice is heard saying, "We need to get him to the hospital now," and a female voice, possibly Jocelyn Jacks, gasps, "My God." Jocelyn will feel guilty, and that would make sense because Danny ran into her on the beach, and she promised she wouldn't tell he was there. However, he was by himself at the time and Rocco was elsewhere. He'll be okay though, as he'll apologize. Nina would tell him that she is going to tell Willow the truth, that she and Drew were having sex. Nina would say that she has nothing left to lose at this point. With Nina threatening to tell Willow the truth about the true nature of Drew and Nina's past relationship, Drew would tell her that if she tells Willow the truth that he will kill her. He would mean this. At first, Nina would laugh and tell Drew that he can't stop her. Drew would get in her face and tell her that if she tells Willow anything, that he will kill her. With Nina threatening to tell Willow the truth about the true nature of Drew and Nina's past relationship, Drew would tell her that if she tells Willow the truth that he will kill her. He would mean this. At first, Nina would laugh and tell Drew that he can't stop her. Drew would get in her face and tell her that if she tells Willow anything, that he will kill her. General Hospital spoilers reveal a preview clip has been released for Monday, May 5, 2025, has been released. It shows Emma Scorpio Drake realizing her thumb drive is missing. Meanwhile, Lulu Spencer is shocked by Dante Falconeri's confession. Plus, what is Rocco Falconeri's fate? Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the next episode of the ABC soap opera. First off, let's talk about Lulu and Dante's hearts. Lulu has just made it clear where her feelings lie. In the preview clip, Lulu seems shocked and just can't believe her luck. However, Dante will tell her that even though he shares those feelings, there is still the issue of Sam McCall. Dante still loves Sam too, and is still grieving. Over with Rocco, he will still be passed out after drinking at a bonfire party. Danny Morgan is already trying to get Danny to wake up. Not only did she drug him and threaten his relationship with Willow, if she tells Willow what happened between them, he would not hesitate. Drew says he will kill her with his bare hands. Nina would be shocked, afraid, and unsure of what to do at this point. Drew is unleashed and more dangerous, and there is no telling what he might do. What do you think? Do you think Willow overheard the truth? Will Drew go after Nina when he finds out she was responsible for drugging him? Will he threaten to kill her? Keep watching General Hospital, weekdays on ABC, to find out what's next. At Nina's, Willow comes home to find Carly with Nina. Carly claims she wanted to check on her grandchildren. Willow states she is their mother, so she needs to go through her to see them. Willow isn't up for this as she's exhausted from her trip to Germany, where Michael refused to see her. Carly thinks Michael's wised up to her, just like she's wised up to Drew. However, Dante will tell her that even though he shares those feelings, there is still the issue of Sam McCall. Dante still loves Sam too, and is still grieving. Over with Rocco, he will still be passed out after drinking at a bonfire party. Danny Morgan is already trying to get Danny to wake up. It is teased that Cody Bell comes across a dangerous situation. So, I wonder if Cody somehow comes across Danny trying to wake Rocco up. While Rocco does survive, both boys will face serious consequences. While Dante gets alarming news about his son, Carly Spencer emotionally pleads with Lulu. Later, Jason Morgan gives some tough love, presumably to his son. Jason will want to know what Danny was thinking, and why he would just give him booze then leave. General Hospital spoilers for today's episode reveals that Brad Cooper is done doing these risky demands for Portia Robinson. Willow states Drew was drugged, and she still believes in him. Carly leaves, and Willow asks Nina if she's an idiot for believing Drew. Nina points out Willow was furious a few hours ago, so what changed? Willow says she had time to think, and none of this makes sense. She and Drew don't keep secrets, and she knows him inside and out. Nina asks if it is possible she wants to believe Drew because she's appended her whole life for him. It wouldn't just be about Drew's choices, but about hers as well. Willow says she has been asking herself the same thing. Nina tells Willow that it's clear Drew has been unfaithful, and he's not the man she thinks he is. She says Drew pursued her when she was still married, and a decent man doesn't do that. She must think long and hard before forgiving him. Willow believes Drew was drugged, and she thinks they both know who did it. Nina asks Willow what she's thinking. Willow believes the escort gave the drugs to Drew, but was put up to it. Once everyone hears about Drew Kane's drug test, the police will be sniffing around. Brad didn't sign up for that kind of drama and will likely tell the good doctor that this goes too far. Fans will also see Emma Scorpio Drake panic over her missing thumb drive. Jocelyn Jax might make sure that someone else finds it in the sand. Of course, Joss could always pretend to be the hero, but that might look a tad suspicious. Willow Tate Corinthos asks Nina Reeves if she's an idiot for believing Drew. Meanwhile, Drew continues talking with Max Scorpio. Also, Tracy Quartermain blows up at Lois Cerullo. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Monday, May 5, 2025? Someone hired her to set Drew up. At Lulu's, she's stunned when Dante says he loves her too. She never expected him to say that. Dante replies, "Me too." Danny says he feels the way she does, but he can't think about it as he's still in love with Sam. Lulu understands, which is why she never wanted to tell him, and why Maxie had no right to tell him. Dante tells Lulu there is still something between them, but he thinks she's projecting her issues about their situation onto Brooklyn. Lulu calls that ridiculous and says Dante wouldn't say that if he knew. Dante asks, "Knew what?" Lulu says Brooklyn has done some awful stuff, but doesn't go into detail. Dante yells at her to stop beating around the bush and tell him what Brooklyn has done. Suddenly, Carly arrives and asks if everything is okay. Fed up, Dante storms out, saying he's done. Lulu opens up to Carly about their argument and has decided to tell Dante the truth about Brooklyn. But Carly tells her, "Don't you dare." Carly reminds her how Robin blew up her, Michael and Jason's lives about AJ being Michael's father, and Jason and Robin were never the same. Lulu says AJ had a right to know the truth, but Carly argues it wasn't Robin's place to tell him, and it's not Lulu's place to say a thing to Dante. Lulu asks, if you knew Jason had a kid out there, you wouldn't tell him. Dante is important to her like Jason is to Carly. Carly admits Lulu got her, but if she exposes this secret, she'll regret it for the rest of her life. Carly says Brooklyn's son could have a wonderful life and not even know he's adopted. She needs to make sure she is doing this because she feels Dante needs to know, or because she hates Brooklyn that much. In the Quartermain living room, Tracy asks Lois where her great-grandson is. Lois asks how she found out. Tracy's glad she's not denying it. Lois says, "Screw it, let's do this." Tracy explains what she knows and wants to know if putting the baby up for adoption was Brooklyn's idea or hers. Lois says the decision was Brooklyn's, and she supported her. Tracy feels Lois has been deceiving this family for decades and forced Brooklyn to keep this secret. Lois says she did precisely what Brooklyn asked her to, and the only thing she did was convince her daughter she wasn't a terrible person for getting pregnant. She did her best, and it's weighed on her ever since. Lois tells Tracy that if she doesn't want to believe her, that is her problem. Tracy says, "Wrong, Brooklyn doesn't know where her son is, but you do." Lois states it was a closed adoption, but Tracy felt she purposefully left the Quartermains out because they had the money to help Brooklyn out back then. Lois says this wasn't about money, which is all her family thinks about. Brooklyn said she wasn't ready to be a mother and didn't want to go down her father's route, dumping her baby off with the Qs, just like Tracy dumped Dillian and Ned off on Leela and Monica. Lois knows how the Qs operate, and her grandson deserved better. Tracy yells that is why she gave the baby up for adoption, because she dislikes their family. Lois tells her it wasn't the reason, it was just a bonus. Tracy says if Lois finds them insufferable, feel free to move out. Lois refuses, and Tracy calls her a piece of work. She can't wait for the day she can rid this house of her, and she feels that day is quickly approaching. At the hospital, Drew recalls being with Tracy at the Port Charles Grill, but doesn't tell Mac. He says everything is fuzzy, and he'll tell Mac when he remembers more. When he remembers who did this, he wants the person nailed. Later, Drew is given fluids by Dina, who suggests his memory will come back in time. She also suggests he check his phone's GPS to see where he may have been last night. Drew finds that he came to the hospital and remembers meeting with Portia. Marco turns up at the hospital, and Lucas hopes he's not sick. They flirt, and Marco explains he was just grabbing files for a client and used it as an excuse to run into him. They head to the vending machines as Lucas is on a break and then go to Lucas' office. They talk about their date, which was a night to remember, what with Drew's performance at the Savoy. Lucas and Marco are both excited for their next date.